Honourable Member for Langley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a real honor for me to be able to speak to C-32, a very important bill called the Victims' Bill of Rights Act. Mr. Speaker, I listened intently to my colleagues across the way were saying regarding this important bill. And I was actually a little saddened. The purpose of this bill is, C-32, is to focus on victims' rights. And we've acknowledged that it's a good bill. It's an important bill, but it's not surprising why, to this day, victims' rights have not been established. It is not in Canada. Victims' rights have been ignored generation after generation, and it's under this government that something is actually happening. The debate we just heard was not focused on victims again. It was focused by the opposition, and I do appreciate that they support this bill. They've said it's a good bill. They're going to support it. But after those comments, then they focused on procedure. They said they weren't happy that the amendments that they made were not accepted. And I've been in this House for 10 years, and I always don't get my way. In fact, as I often don't. We work together in this Parliament for the betterment of Canada, but it's not always my way. It's others' way. We work together, and we come up with a position that we believe Canadians want, and that's what C-32 has done, is we've built and we've adjusted and created a bill that represents who? The Victims' Bill of Rights. And so instead of focusing on amendments not being supported, political rhetoric, not happy with what happened at committee or other committees, I think we need to focus on what we're here to talk about, and that's Victims' Bill of Rights. Now, talking about Victims' Bill of Rights, it makes me think about when I introduced my Safe at Home bill, Mr. Speaker, just prior to the introduction of the Bill of Rights, Victims' Bill of Rights. I remember that family that came from my riding of Langley, and they shared that their child had been sexually assaulted by the neighbor that lived right across the street. And it was a very sad story, but even just as sad was their experience with the justice system. They, as a victim, as family, and we're expanding the definition of the victim. It's not just the person that was assaulted, but it's the family of the victim. We're fixing that. We're expanding the definitions of victim. And Mr. Speaker, that family said that they were observers through the whole process. They weren't consulted or considered. They were observers. And what they said, the one thing they said is, please do not allow that offender to serve the sentence across the street, right where the offense took place. Please. And then they were not notified of actually when the sentencing was happening. Again, as observers, their input was not considered, and the sentence was made, and the sentence was that the offender could serve the sentence on conditional sentence, house arrest, right across the street. Again, evidence a need from a Victims' Bill of Rights. This is a good bill. It does consider the victims' rights. And Mr. Speaker, this is what the president of the Canadian Police Association said about C-32. Quote, frontline officers have seen firsthand the challenges victims of crime can face in navigating the complex and often seemingly uncaring system. Sounds like what the people from Langley experienced. He went on to say, we appreciate the actions that this government has taken to put the focus back where it should be in the first place, in helping those who have been victimized, end quote. And Mr. Speaker, that is good news. We are moving in the right direction. And I do genuinely appreciate the support of the other parties. We did pass it unanimously at committee. And I think about another comment that came from the Ottawa Sun. It said in April, just after this bill was introduced, it said, it's about time we gave a hug to someone other than the thug. C-32 aims to do just that. It's time the victims got a little bit more respect in the court system.